Clara Vance had built her life around precision. Her calendar was color-coded, her shoes always matched her bag, and her boardroom tone could silence a crowd. At 38, she was the youngest CEO in her company's history. But success came with its own kind of loneliness. She'd learned long ago that power and peace rarely shared the same table. So, when her best friend insisted she try a blind date, Clara hesitated. "You've spent 3 years negotiating mergers," her friend had said. "Negotiate a night out for once." And that's how she found herself sitting at a rooftop cafe on a golden Friday evening, sunglasses perched on her head, waiting for a man she'd never met. The invitation had said, "He's in finance, navy blazer, tall, nice smile. Give him a chance." The cafe was elegant but relaxed, glass railings, planters of lavender, and a gentle breeze moving through the linen napkins. A waiter poured her sparkling water and offered to start the order. She shook her head. Not yet. She didn't want to look eager. Her date was 15 minutes late, then 20. She scrolled through emails to fill the silence, occasionally glancing up at the entrance. She almost didn't notice when a man in a plain gray work shirt stepped in, pushing a small dolly stacked with bottled water. He looked out of place among the suits and chatter, clean-shaven but sun-worn, his hands calloused, his eyes the soft brown of steady patience. Eli Harper had just finished his afternoon delivery route. The cafe was one of his last stops before heading home. He wasn't in a rush. The evening light was pleasant, and he liked watching people who didn't have to worry about running out of time. When the young waiter noticed him standing by the door, he mistook Eli's quiet posture for expectation. "Ah, you must be Miss Vance's guest," the waiter said, gesturing toward Clara's table. Before Eli could correct him, the waiter was already leading the way. Clara looked up as the man approached. Definitely not a navy blazer, definitely not finance. But something in his awkward half-smile made her hesitate before speaking. "Ms. Vance?" Eli asked carefully. She blinked. "Yes, and you are—" The waiter interrupted, setting down another glass. "Your guest has arrived, ma'am. Enjoy your evening." Eli gave a small shrug, the corners of his mouth tilting upward. "Well," he said softly, "looks like I've been seated." Clara studied him for a moment. He seemed nervous, almost apologetic, and yet there was something refreshing about that honesty. Against her better judgment, she said, "You might as well sit. The seat's already yours." He did. At first, their conversation was polite: weather, city traffic, the food menu. Then Clara asked, half smiling, "So tell me about this finance job." Eli nearly choked on his water. "Finance?" She frowned. "Isn't that what you do?" He laughed, a genuine, warm sound. "No, ma'am. I fix leaky pipes and broken coffee machines. I think the waiter mixed us up." There was a pause. Then, to her own surprise, Clara laughed. Really laughed. The sound felt strange coming out of her, lighter than she'd expected. "All right, Mr. Not in Finance," she said. "You've earned dinner for honesty's sake. Stay." They talked for 2 hours, about childhood, second chances, and the quiet pride of doing work that mattered to someone, even if no one noticed. Eli spoke about his younger sister, how he'd raised her after their parents passed. Clara spoke about losing herself in work after her divorce. Neither said much about money or status. For once, it didn't seem to matter. When Eli finally stood to leave, he hesitated, then tore a page from his small notepad. On it, he had sketched a quick drawing, her sitting across the table laughing. He handed it to her. "You should do that more," he said. "You look alive when you laugh." And just like that, he was gone. 3 days later, Clara saw him again. It was late at the office. Most employees were gone, the skyline glowing with city lights. She stepped out of her glass-walled corner suite and stopped short. There, kneeling near the copier, was Eli, in the same gray shirt, wiping a small spill from the floor. For a moment, neither spoke.
Eli,
"You work here," she said finally.
what's going on?
He nodded.
It's this machine.
"I do.
I'm just trying to
Night
fix the
maintenance.
paper jam.
Didn't think you'd notice." She crossed her arms, torn between embarrassment and curiosity. "You knew who I was at the cafe, didn't you?" "I figured it out after you laughed," he said, smiling faintly. "Didn't want to ruin it." She didn't know what to say. Power dynamics were a language she knew well, but kindness not so much. She opened her mouth, but he just nodded politely, picked up his cleaning cart, and left without another word. 2 weeks later, the company hosted a high-profile investor visit. Among the guests was Leonard Cross, a well-known venture capitalist, charming, wealthy, and ironically, the man who was supposed to be Clara's original blind date. He arrived in his navy blazer, all charm and charisma, shaking hands and making loud jokes. Everyone laughed, except Clara, who had already learned to recognize arrogance disguised as confidence. Midway through the tour, they stopped by the executive lounge, where Eli happened to be fixing a leaking faucet. Cross sneered. "You've got the janitor working during investor tours? Not very inspiring, Clara." A few executives chuckled nervously. Clara opened her mouth to defend Eli, but for some reason, the words didn't come. Maybe she was afraid of how it would look, defending a maintenance worker in front of someone like Cross. Eli glanced at her, eyes calm, unreadable. He said nothing, just stood, wiped his hands, and walked out. Later that night, Cross was escorted from the building by security. The finance department had uncovered evidence of insider trading. The story broke the next morning, but by the time Clara reached the office, Eli was gone. His locker was empty. His badge had been returned. She found a folded note in her inbox. "Thank you for one real evening. I won't forget it." 3 months passed. Clara's company survived the scandal, but she didn't feel triumphant. Meetings, mergers, and investor calls filled her days. But something was missing. Something simple, like the sound of that unexpected laughter. One afternoon, while scrolling through a community newsletter, a headline caught her eye. "Local Artist Exhibit. Hands That Build the City," by Eli Harper. Her pulse quickened. That evening, she went. The small gallery smelled faintly of paint and coffee. The walls were lined with portraits, construction workers, cleaners, bus drivers, captured with such humanity that the room itself seemed to breathe. And there he was, standing near a canvas of a woman laughing under golden light, her. He turned when he sensed her. For a long moment, they didn't move. Then Eli smiled, slow and genuine. "You found me." "I think I was always supposed to," she said. He chuckled softly. "Still sitting at the wrong tables, are we?" She stepped closer, eyes glistening. Maybe the wrong ones are just the right ones in disguise. They talked until the gallery lights dimmed. She told him she'd learned that strength didn't come from titles, and he told her he'd learned that honesty wasn't weakness. Somewhere in the quiet between their words, something real returned, not romance in the movie sense, but the quiet comfort of being seen, understood, and unjudged. When she finally left that night, she paused at the door. "Eli," she said. He looked up. "I laughed again," she whispered. "Because of you." He smiled. "Then my job's done." "Not yet," she said, holding his gaze. "I still owe you dinner. The right table this time." A few weeks later, they sat together again. Same cafe, same golden sky, no mix-up this time. He brought her a sketchbook, she brought 2 cups of coffee, and they talked as if the months apart had been a pause instead of an ending. For the first time in years, Clara didn't check her watch, and when Eli reached across the table, fingers brushing hers, she didn't pull away. Sometimes, the wrong table doesn't lead to the wrong person. It just takes you the long way to the right one.